Coco Gauff calls out American crowd. Here's what happened. We're the worst. Coco Gauff blasts U.S. fan support abroad. American tennis star Coco Gauff has sparked online controversy ahead of the 2026 United Cup and Australian Open. The 21-year-old gave a blunt comment regarding fan support abroad, saying the United States is the worst when it comes to traveling supporters at international tennis events. Speaking ahead of the Mixed Team United Cup in Australia, the world number 3 said she does not expect strong attendance from American fans in Sydney. "I'll be honest, no," Gauff responded to the question about fans' expectations in Sydney. "I feel like we're definitely, in the tennis department, the worst when it comes to that. I wish our country would up throughout the world the way smaller countries do." Gauff highlighted that the issue is not a lack of passion but instead America's crowded sports landscape. With several major leagues competing for attention, tennis often struggles to command the same traveling fan culture scene in nations where the sport dominates. She noted that more Americans tend to attend the Australian Open in Melbourne than United Cup matches in Sydney, adding she hopes to see more red, white, and blue in the stands if Team USA advances. Despite the lack of fan support, Gauff strongly rejected the idea that the Americans are underdogs. "We're the number 1 seed," she said, indicating teams' depth and consistency. The United States has won 2 of the tournament's 3 editions, including the 2025 title, with Gauff playing a pivotal role. Coco Gauff calls out the American crowd. Here's what happened. The stadium was loud, but not in the way Coco Gauff expected. The noise rolled in uneven waves, rising and falling like a restless tide. Flags fluttered, phones hovered midair, and thousands of eyes followed the ball as it cut through the court. This was home soil. An American tournament. An American star. Yet something felt off. Coco Gauff paused at the baseline, bouncing the ball slowly, deliberately. Her face was calm, but her eyes told another story, one of focus sharpened by frustration, of confidence tempered by disappointment. Then, after the point ended, she looked up. And she spoke. Not with anger. Not with drama. But with clarity. The moment that shifted the match. It started subtly. A murmur here. A shout there. Cheers during rallies. Applause that arrived early or late, depending on who won the point. To some, it was just crowd energy. To Coco, it crossed a line. Tennis has its unspoken rules. Silence during points. Respect for both players. Let the game breathe. But on this night, the crowd, her crowd, forgot. After a particularly disruptive moment, Coco raised her hand toward the stands. The chair umpire leaned forward. The stadium quieted, sensing something was about to happen. "I know you're excited," she said, her voice steady but firm, "but please, let us play." It wasn't a shout. It wasn't a scolding. It was a request. And that made it powerful. Why it mattered more than the score. At just 19, Coco Gauff has already learned something many athletes take years to understand. Silence can be louder than noise, and respect matters more than momentum. Calling out a crowd, especially your own, is risky. Fans expect gratitude. They expect smiles. They expect their support to be welcomed without conditions. But Coco asked for something different. She asked for fairness. She reminded everyone watching, both in the stadium and at home, that tennis is a game of concentration, rhythm, and mutual respect. When that balance is broken, the sport itself suffers. This wasn't about booze or bias. It was about timing, about boundaries, and about maturity. A young star, an old responsibility. Coco Gauff has grown up in the spotlight. From the moment she stunned the tennis world as a teenager, expectations followed her like a shadow. Not just to win, but to represent. To inspire. To lead. On that court, she did all 3. By speaking up, she showed that leadership doesn't always look like celebration. Sometimes it looks like correction. Sometimes it means being uncomfortable so the game can be better. Social media reacted instantly. Some praised her courage. Some questioned her tone. Others debated whether crowds should ever be called out at all. But nearly everyone agreed on one thing. She handled it with class. The crowd responds. Something shifted after her words. The noise softened. Applause came at the right moments. Cheers waited until points ended. The match flowed again, cleaner and calmer. It wasn't silence. It was respect. And Coco? She returned to the baseline, reset her stance, and played on. Focused, composed, unapologetically herself. More than a match. This wasn't just a tennis moment. It was a cultural one. In an era where athletes are often told to just play and stay quiet, Coco Gauff chose to speak. Not to divide, but to protect the integrity of the sport she loves. She didn't demand perfection from the crowd. She asked for awareness. And in doing so, she reminded everyone why she's more than a rising star. She's a voice shaping the future of the game. When the match ended, the applause felt different. Not louder, but earned.